Well, good morning, everyone. I know this was kind of a last minute undecided live, and I just lost my image. Hold on one second. All sorts of technical things going on wrong. Sorry, guys. I'm just trying to fix one of these cameras, which just went offline on me. There we go. Now you can see me. Let's move that. Oh, wrong way. Let's shift it upwards. Hello. Well, thank you guys for joining me on this very Sunday morning or Sunday afternoon, wherever you guys may be. Some of you might be Monday already. Let's see who came in at the last minute to join us. Take two. Okay. Yes, Larry. Hello. Good morning, Larry. How are you today? Hello, Joyce Hernandez. I see Carol Eldridge from Reedley. Hello, my northern neighbor. Remo J, good afternoon and good morning. And she's already reminding people to thumbs up. Thank you, Remo. Hey, Vivian. I see Linda Faust is here. Cheryl Clute, good afternoon. From Anderson, South Carolina. Good afternoon to you. Mr. Dale from Down Under, hello to you. It might be Monday morning for you. This is going to have to work this time, Linda. Yep. Hi, Marianne. You're cooking here. Okay, so please don't burn yourself and please don't, pay attention to what you're doing. But glad you joined us this morning or this afternoon. Is the mic on? I'm hearing that people can't hear me, or I'm reading that people can't hear me, but I see that the mic is, in fact, working. Yeah, it's hard to always judge because I don't have my earphones on. Okay, is that better? All right, let me just move it up a little more. Is that any better? Because I do see that it is getting a signal. Sound needs to be turned up. Does that mean I have to hold it up like this? So yeah, okay. That's weird. Okay, you know what? I'm gonna take this. Well, I'm gonna switch mics later on. There is something where um, I do need to actually use this particular microphone because I'm gonna be moving around. Okay, but somewhere when we actually get to the sewing, I'll switch the mics later on. But I'm gonna actually move the camera to demonstrate something for everyone's benefit because there's been a lot of questions that I've been getting, so I wanted to address that first. But it's good to know that this mic does not work very well on a live stream, so. Okay, I'm trying out different equipment just to figure out which is the best because I know sound is an issue on some of these live streams. So good to know that, well, trial and error. So it's good to know that this microphone is not good for doing live sessions. But it's funny, when I'm recording videos, this is the microphone that I'm using. And so a lot of times you'll see it clipped onto my shirt. But it's good to know that it's not good for live streams. Okay. So I'll have to somehow figure this part out. Okay. What are we doing today? Well, we are making block number 50 here. Can you believe we're already at 50? Just 2 more to go. And we'll be all done with this. And never thought we would be at this point, but here we are. So after last week's video where I had a lot of questions about what a filler block is and how to use it in the quilt, so I figured I would spend a little bit of today kind of explaining what I mean by that, because filler block was just kind of something, a term that I just kind of made up. And I know there's been a lot of questions about, or there have been a lot of follow-up questions, especially from a lot of the beginning quilters out there that have been following the series. They don't know what I meant by filler blocks, and so I figured I'd take a few moments today to actually address all of those questions. So this is where I'm gonna ask you guys to kind of work with me here, because I'm gonna be moving the camera and the sound might not come as clearly as it is now, because I'm gonna be I'm not gonna be holding the mic like how I am now. So just bear with me, guys. In fact, let me do this. So that you guys don't get so dizzy when I'm moving around. Okay, so sorry for the Blair Witch Project camera work here. Okay, so I started to lay out the whole entire quilt here, or at least lay out the different blocks. And I'm not 100% sure how it's all gonna come together. I'm still kind of playing around with different blocks going together. But when I began laying out all of these blocks and just seeing what different color combinations or what blocks go good together, here's what I kind of mean by a filler block. So you can kind of see here, I got this 12-inch block here. I got another 12.5-inch block here. Then I got a 10-inch block here, or I believe this might be a 10.5-inch block here. And in order for me to make this row or this combination work, I need to fill in some gaps here and here. That's where these fillers come in. Because I can customize it to any size that I want to, I can just basically make a block just to fill in the gap there and just make it any size that I need it to fit. So I can put a filler block there, make that work, and then I need something to fill here. Now, if I didn't want to make a filler block, I could just put in a solid fabric at the bottom, or just cut a solid fabric to size. Okay, same thing with this area. So I got the double pinwheel, and then I got the block that nobody liked doing, but I need to fill in that bottom left corner with something. And so that's where another filler block can just go in. I could just cut a solid piece of fabric and just make it fit there as well. Okay, so that's kind of the idea of what I mean by filler blocks. You just kind of cut it down to size, or whatever size that you need, and wherever or whatever the final block layout that you decide, you just use those blocks to just kind of fill in the gaps to make up for size differences between the different block sizes. Now, I knew this was coming, so I kind of planned it ahead of time, but yeah, there was a lot of questions ever since the last video about what a filler block is and how to use it. So I figure we should address that now. And sorry, I'm moving the camera again. And let me reset that. Always happening on a live. Okay. Okay, so, I figured that, hello again. So thank you for working with me there. Hope I didn't make you guys too dizzy, but that's what I mean by a filler block. It's just a block where you can just customize it to any size and you just make it work and fill in the gaps between different block sizes. And so ever since last week's video, there's been a lot of questions again by a lot of beginning quilters as to how to use these filler blocks and what do we do with them. So I hope that gives you a better idea as to what I mean by a filler block. The other question that I got was in terms of fabric choices, do you need to use same values or the same fabrics that you've been using in your quilt top? And I kind of say that'll depend on personal preference because for me, well, if you can, as you can kind of see in the quote and behind me, there's a lot of colors with a lot of different values and a lot of different sizes. And so I didn't, if even if on these filler blocks, if I make it a different fabric, it's not gonna stand out or it's not going to like show so much because again, the quilt, the quilt top in and of itself is going to be so busy with all these colors and different fabrics kind of thrown together. So even if I use a filler block to kind of fill in the gaps, it's not going to detract from all the other blocks so much as it's just going to be filling in the gaps. Now, for those that have been using certain colors in their background, though, I will say this. If you chose to do background colors consistently using maybe a lighter color or even a darker color, you may want to use a background print or a background fabric or the same background fabric. Okay, so here's a preview of next week's block to kind of illustrate what I mean. Okay, so this is actually a preview of next week's block. So here we have the white background. And here's the same block made with a green background. Okay, if I were to put this green colored one next to a block that has the white background, this is definitely going to stand out. So I might want to opt to go with this, using this as the filler instead. But if I have a block that is a mixture of different colors and there is no white, then this probably will not detract so much from that block. So again, this is for next week. You're getting a sneak peek here, but just kind of throw the blocks onto your quilt wall or your quilt floor or your design floor or design wall, I should say, and just kind of play around with these filler blocks, see what combinations work, what combinations don't work. If you got extra fabric that you have left over from one of the previous blocks, you could use that just to make it match. or if you just got scrap fabrics, that's what I've been using. Just make your filler blocks using those scrap fabrics. I don't think there's any need for us to go out and purchase more fabric at this point. You can if you want to, and I know some of you are probably going to do that. But um, yeah, so just play around with your fabric choices when you do these filler blocks, and make a lot of them. Make them in different sizes, because again, you're going to be kind of trimming down a lot of it um, just to make it fit certain areas. And I can't tell you how much to make because I myself don't have the entire quilt top laid out. So each of us are going to lay it out a little differently because it's based on personal preference here. So um, I would just say just make a lot of it, and um, so that you have it when you need it. And even if you don't use it for this quilt, you could use it for a different quilt. Okay, so I hope that addresses all the issues or all the questions. If not, leave a question in the comments below this video when it gets posted. Okay, so hang on, bear with me for a second. I'm just gonna mute myself so I can switch to a different microphone. So hang on, guys. Okay, so I switched mics here. Does that sound better? If someone can. Okay. Hi, Cindy. Glad you joined us. Hello, Phyllis. Okay, thank you, Remo. She says it's much better, so good to know that this microphone that I was using, not good. Okay, so let's get this out of the way. Set the iron. Okay, so what is the block that we are making today? Well, this is probably going to be, or people are going to tell me, this is the easiest block to do. And if you know the name of this block, which is called the Sawtooth, you know how easy it is. It's just basically making half square triangles and sewing them together. And so I use this Sawtooth block a lot as, again, what I call a filler. And so you just need to actually just grab squares of different sizes. Now I'm using 5-inch squares here. And basically we're just making half square triangles. I'm going to do the 2 at a time half square triangle method, in which if I use these 5-inch squares, I'm going to end up with a 4.5-inch half square triangle. And so, you know, I think most of you know how to do this. And so here it's just a matter of me pairing up what fabrics I want to go with what. So here's a red. I'm going to pair it with this red. And again, because it's a filler, you make as much as you want or as little as you want, and you make it to whatever size that you need to make it for. I'm just going to do green with this blue, and I like this goldish brown color. I'll do it with this turquoise. I think that's good for now. Yeah, so I'll toss the rest of these. And doing these half square triangles, I mean, if you are someone who likes to do like a leader and ender project, perfect for that. So let's work with this combination. Then on the back of one of these, I'm just going to draw my diagonal line. And you know the drill. Draw the line, sew it 1/4 inch away on both sides of the line. So I'll do that one, and I'll do this combination. I'll draw my line here. Whoops. And I will do, I'm just drawing the line diagonally from corner to corner. Okay, so I'm just making 3 pairs of them. Actually, let me do one more pair. I'll do that green with, okay, I'm not not really loving this combination, but I'm going to do it anyway. Here we go. Oh. Okay, so I got 4 pairs here. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yep. Okay, I'm gonna sew again. Take this to the sewing machine, put it right sides together. We're gonna sew 1/4 inch away from that center line. So let's get to sewing. I should trim off this scrap piece of fabric that I got hanging off of here. Okay, chain stitching the next combination. Chain, chain, chain. Chain, chain, chain. Okay, that's one down. Chain, 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 chain of fools. Christmas in July, yes. Yeah, I noticed that a lot of fabric shops are selling Christmas fabrics right now because of that theme for Christmas in July. And I think, well, So I know that a lot of professional designers will come out with their Christmas stuff, not just within the quilting world, but even interior decorators, um, people that do a lot of, like, how would you say, even a friend of mine used to do decorations for hotels back in Hawaii. And so this is the time where he's trying to grab all his clients for the season, for the upcoming holiday season. So, yeah, I think Christmas in July is a real thing. Um, and of course, being a good friend, I would help my designer friend because he had his own company. When the time came to actually start setting up all the decorations for the hotels, a lot of us kind of volunteered our time just to help. Um, he didn't pay us because we were volunteering our time, but one of the big reasons why we all wanted to help him was because at the end of January, he would have this annual appreciation dinner. And at this dinner, it was twofold because he was trying to, just have a appreciation for those that helped him out during the season. But he was also, because he has a catering business in tangent to this decoration or decorating business, he would also use that time to actually sample different cases of wines that he found throughout the year. And so that was the real reason why we wanted to help him, because we would often be rewarded by free wine. And so some of these wines, I mean, they're not cheap. They're not the cheap grocery things. They are the exclusive private labels that you would get. So that was the real benefit of helping him. And there was just like about a good 20 or 30 of us that would often, that would do it every year. So, yeah. But where was I going with that story? Yeah, he would often call me and just as we talked, right around this time of the year, he would kind of disappear from all of us. And we all knew why, because he's kind of hustling and getting all his contracts and trying to find all his clients, and negotiating with the various hotels, the contracts, and then just working with the hotels' public relations people, I guess, just on what they want to do in terms of the holiday decorations. Okay, so while I was talking, I took my half square triangle, cut it right on the line. Now I'm trimming it down, or I'm just kind of finger pressing the block back, and I'm going to trim it down, or actually not really trimming it down so much as just cutting the dog ears off right now. So, okay, so I got these two done. And what I want to do then is just sew them together like so, or I could also do this, but I wouldn't necessarily sew the same two half square triangles next to each other. So let me cut this one up. Let's see. I still say if we have Christmas in July, there should be a Halloween in May. That would be a good one. I don't think you'll get a lot of complaints about that, Larry. And you know what? I'm just cutting off the dog ears for now. cool thing about this block is there's not really that many points to match up. Well, depending upon how many rows you do. I'm just going to free cut it for now. Just cut that. And cut that. Now, if you do want to, you can, at this point, kind of square up your block. But I'm going to do something a little different here. So, okay, so these should be about 4.5 inches, in which if I take a ruler, it might be like 1/8 of an inch off. Yeah, it's a little, about 4 7/8. Okay. Now, if you wanted to, you could square it up to 4.5. But I'm not going to do that just yet. Here's what I'm going to do now. I am going to need 4.5 inch block sizes. I knew that for sure. But I'm going to actually cut these down to a different size. So first what I'm going to do is I'm going to make it a 2.5, or do a 2.5 inch cut here. So that's 2.5. This should now be 1 and 1.5. No, this should now be 2 inches, in which it kind of is. Let me see. Yep, so I can get a 2-inch cut out of this. And I'll trim that down. So I am going to need a 2.5 inch and a 2-inch size block. So what I'm going to do then is I'm actually just going to trim this down to be a 2-inch half square triangle. Then this I can put in a scrap, or I could just use it as a crumb. Then I'm going to cut this one down to 2.5 inches, if you already figured that out. I bet some of you already have. Okay, so again, because I need these, because I need varying block sizes on these fillers, instead of leaving it at a 4.5 inch size, I can make a half square triangle to a 4.5 inch size, and then just trim them down to whatever size that I need. Then that way I'm not using, or I'm not really, I don't have to cut like these small triangles and try and sew them to make a half square triangle. I know a lot of people don't like doing that. I'm one of them. So yeah, that's just kind of a cheater method to making smaller half square triangles into these sizes. So that's what I'm going to be doing. Okay, so I got this one made. And let's do the same thing with this red one here. Ton. I will work for wine too, yes. And it was good stuff too, I will say that. So this is my 2.5 inch. Okay, what I'm actually doing here, I should point this out, is after I cut my, well, let's back up for a second. Let me put this back together. So yeah, put it like that. So I made a 2.5 inch cut here. And because I want to make this a 2.5 inch sized half square triangle, so I'm cut the block to 2.5 inches on one side, Now what I'm doing here is, in order to get that 2.5 inch size, I'm taking the diagonal line on my ruler, making it match up to this diagonal seam here. Hope you can see that. So lining up the diagonal line on, or the 45-degree line on the ruler, lining it right on top of that diagonal seam. Also checking to make sure that my 2.5 inch line here, as well as here, lines up. We cut the excess off. This is a scrap. You can use it for later. And you should have a 2.5 inch half square triangle. And we're gonna just make a ton of these. Same thing with the other half. Now this one, I am gonna trim it down a little bit further to be a 2-inch size. So I do have a little trimming on this one. And same thing, I'm gonna put the diagonal line on the ruler right on that seam. And then lining up my 2-inch line here and 2-inch line there. Cut that. Scrap piece or crumb. And you got a 2-inch half square triangle. I'm going to be using both of these to make my sawtooth block. So I'll make 2 different versions just from that one 4.5 inch square or 4.5 inch half square triangle. Wine quilter's little helper. Okay, always need more crumbs. Yes, Dale. Hello, Nancy. Thank you for joining us. Hey, Stephanie. That's Memoirs of a Long Arm Quilter. Glad you guys could join me this Sunday or Monday, wherever you may be in the world. So, again, this is the easiest block that we probably have. Well, I shouldn't say that, but we're just doing a sawtooth block, and to make this sawtooth block, you just need a whole bunch of half square triangles. Now, for those of you who joined in late, I just made a half square triangle using the 2 at a time half square triangle method. I started off with a 5-inch square, drew my diagonal line, and sewed a 1/4 inch away on both sides of that diagonal line. Now what I'm doing is I cut a 2.5 inch strip, then I made a half square triangle out of it. So that's one set. And with what's left over, I'm going to trim it further down to a 2-inch size. And that's what I'm doing here. Okay. Then I'm going to make a, oh, wait, which I'm getting disoriented again. Why is this one backwards? Oh, I'll flip it over. Something didn't go right. Oh well. With this now, I'm going to be making a 2-inch half square triangle. So I'm just lining up my 2-inch lines like you normally would when you square up a block. Somehow that doesn't look right. Hold on. Oh, because I cut it the other way. That's why. Didn't cut it right. There we go. Now I can do this. And I can cut that. Okay. Okay, this one's a little off. I'm not going to worry about it so much. Well, I can actually trim it down further to make it right. Just leave it. Okay. Now, the beauty about this block is nothing has to be perfect. Because there's not really much points to match up, and even if the points don't match up, it's not going to be so obvious. So again, just cutting it down 2.5 inches. Then I'm going to trim this down to 2.5. That's why it didn't work. I had it in the wrong rotation. Okay, then I'll trim that. Scrap. I'll trim this down to 2 inches. So I'm going to trim here on the right side, or right side for me, and at the top. And then I got a 2-inch half square triangle. Okay. This block is quick. It's, well, I don't want to say easy, because what's easy for me might not be easy for some other people. Okay, let me get these last two sewn. There's one. And did I just break a thread? Nope. Oh, yep. My thread just broke again. Or at least it's the bobbin thread, so that's the easier of the two to get to reset. So let me just reset that real quick. I swear to you guys, I do like this machine, even though every time I go on live, there's always something that goes wrong with it. But it is a good machine, I promise you that. So if you're in the market for one, you might want to consider it. Oh, let me lift up the foot, draw up the bobbin thread. There we go. And let's just get this last seam on. So on the scrap, and cut the thread there. Believe me, my half square triangles are never perfect. Neither are mine, Larry. Or Dale, sorry. My half square triangles are never perfect. Even, well, they're good enough, I should say. Okay, so this, I'm just going to finger press this one back. Or you can iron it if you want to. I'm not going to bother doing that. Well, maybe I will. I'll take these to the iron. Let me actually get this one cut up as well. And this one is my, is this the red and green? Yep. Okay, let me just take these to the iron, because I know these fabrics have not been starched, so they're not as stiff as the others. So let me just press these real quick. Okay, so we're back. Same thing. I'm just gonna make my 2.5 inch cut here. Actually, yeah. Let's see. I'm gonna go a little bit bigger because I know I can kind of tell this edge is not exactly straight right there. So make it a little bigger. I should have enough to make a 2-inch cut here. In which, if not, oh well. Oh, barely. Nope, cut a little too much. So I'm just going to trim this down to 2.5 inches. And then cut this. There we go. And this is where it gets a little bit dangerous for me because I will rotate it the wrong way and cut it wrong. So in order to combat that, don't do it. And I see a little sliver there. So here's my 2.5. I'll put that there. Squaring up HSTs is my least favorite thing to do. Mine too. I'm with you there, Jim. Actually, I can do this where okay, so what I'm doing here is I'm just cutting, or actually making my 2.5 here. Turn that around. And then I can kind of trim off my 2.5 there. Pull those shavings. So here's my 2.5. And then on this side, I'm going to do my 2-inch. Yeah, that actually works better. And then I'll turn that around and make my 2-inch half square triangle here. Got my 2-inch there. Okay. And I do have 2 more, but that's kind of basically repetitive, so I'm not going to do these 2, or I might do it later. Okay. So I got all of these 2-inch half square triangles, in which then, again, very simple. Just make sure that you got a good mixture of them. You do want to make sure that all of the diagonals go in one direction. So in this case, I'm putting it this way. You don't want some going this way and some going that way. You could do that, actually, but it technically wouldn't be considered to be a sawtooth. Now, I chose to actually make this with different colors. You could choose to do this with a print and then a back, or a print fabric. A print fabric and then the same background fabrics, but I'm just choosing to do it multicolored. Okay. Then at this point, it's easy. You just sew the half square triangles together. Now, in terms of layout, you could do multiple rows. So I could do it like this, which I wouldn't want to necessarily do it that way because I got matching colors there. But you could do 1 row, you could do multiple rows. Again, it's whatever whatever your requirements are. I'm just going to do a single row here. Grab those two. Okay, and then press your seam allowances. You can press them over to the side or press them in the same direction or press them open actually. That choice is yours. Did I sew this on correctly? Wait. You know me, I'm always sewing something on wrong. Okay. No, that one's right. So I'm going to put this one like that. Yeah. And this is the point where if you have a thread cutter on your machine, that would have helped. But this machine does not have one, so one of the minor setbacks. Okay, so now we're gonna, I think I'm gonna put the red one there. We'll sew these two together. Actually, let's get this one laid out so I can chain stitch these. Do I want to do this? Okay, so let's do it this way. I'll swap that one with this. I don't want to put the two same together, so since I have 6 of the 2.5, I can actually do 2 rows, so let's just do that. I'll sew these two together. Sorry, I didn't realize the camera went out. Okay. I like using the block lock rulers for squaring up HST. Saves a bit of sanity I have left. You know, I don't have a block lock ruler. I'm wondering if I really should get one because I do see a lot of people using it, and when I see them or when I watch people use those block lock rulers, they can square up a lot of half square triangles very quickly. So I'm kind of debating whether or not I do want to get a set of block lock rulers. The other thing is, I mean, let's be real. I could just use a regular square ruler to square up my half square triangles, and that's what I usually do. So I'm kind of debating whether or not it's worth it for me to invest in the block lock rulers. But I don't know. Does anyone else have those block lock rulers, and what's your opinion on it? A man was driving in his car and seen a sign that said road work. The man stuck his head out the window and said, "No, it doesn't." Okay, this one was on the top. This one was my second. No, wait. This one was the top row. Yeah. It was like that. Yeah. this one. Was it like this? Yep, I think so. Hold on. Let me get this one off. Okay. That one there. Okay, right. For now, I'm just finger pressing the seam allowances to one side. So since this one, I have 2 rows, I pressed the top row this way. So now this one, the second row is going to go that way. And yeah, it was set like that, I think. But at this point, it's not going to matter. Okay, and we'll go this way. Yeah, and then we can sew the rows together. Ooh, for a second there, I thought I did it wrong, but nope, it's right. So I got all of the blocks kind of sewn together. This one middle seam, for me, I always press when I sew the rows together, for me, I always press that seam allowance open. I just find that it distributes the bulk a little better. And when I'm quilting it, I don't have to, well, I know I'm going to go through multiple layers at these intersections. But I do find that it does help to press open the seam allowances when you sew the rows together. But that's just a personal preference. Okay, I've seen the block lock rulers, but haven't invested in any yet. So you're in the same camp with me there, Don. I love my block lock rulers. They don't work the same when you press your seams open. That's right. That's another consideration to do, because the block lock ruler is on the basis that you're pressing your seam over to one side. And so in order for the ruler to work, it needs that little bit of, how would you say, that little bump, just to make so that it can lock on to that seam there. So that's another consideration to do, or to think about, I should say. A message came across the screen. Not sure what message that was. Okay, I like the clearly perfect triangles. Oh, I believe you're talking about the clearly slotted perfect triangle ruler. I've seen Missouri Star, Jenny always loves that ruler. She likes using that ruler. I've seen others use that ruler on YouTube, and there's a little bit of a mixed review on that. I do know that some people love it, and some people don't really care for it. They'd rather use a block lock ruler. I haven't tried that one either, but I've kind of found my own workaround in terms of not getting that ruler. So, yeah, I don't know. I might try that ruler, because the one thing I do like about that particular ruler is you can square up different sizes of half square triangles, whereas in the block lock ruler, you're kind of limited to whatever size the ruler is made for. So, I don't know. My hands aren't so steady, and the block lock helps keep my diagonal line. That is true. That is one of the big strengths of the block lock ruler, is that it will keep your block consistent because you're lining it up on that diagonal seam. So that's a good point there, Lisa. Okay, so these are the blocks. Again, quick, and they're not complicating. So I have, this is a 2-inch version, and I just made one row. This is a 2.5-inch version, in which I did make 2 rows, and they're not sewn very perfectly. In fact, the point here is really off. Yeah, the seams aren't exactly lining up there, but because the fabrics and the prints are so busy, if I didn't point that out to you, you probably wouldn't have noticed. Okay. So let's get these pressed. Okay, so these edges are not very straight, so I'm just gonna straighten up the edge here. Just trim off that little bit. And then trim off this little bit here. Okay, now the final block size, again, it's going to vary depending upon where you're going to use this block. Again, it's a filler, so you might not be making 2.5-inch sizes. You might be making maybe a 3-inch size, or even smaller, maybe a 1.5-inch. I dare you to do that. But again, because it is a filler, you can customize it to any size that you want just to make it fill in the block or fill in the gap. So I might end up taking this and then just slicing it right down there. I got no problem with that because, again, it's just a filler. And let me just straighten up this corner here, because that is way off. So again, the point to these filler blocks is to just kind of fill in the gaps in the different sizes of the blocks. So I hope that addresses a lot of the questions that people have been sending me, especially the newer quilters. I hope that does, whoa, this is really curved. I hope that addresses a lot of those questions. If not, you know, feel free to put a question in the comments down below when this video goes on. See, like even in this situation where this row really got bent out of shape, I'm just gonna trim it and make it go the shape that I want it to, but I'll fix that later. So there's your Sawtooth block. It will give you a different look if you have a consistent background fabric. So in this case, I just did half square triangles of various fabrics, or just made it look scrappy. If you do have a consistent one consistent print or background, it will give you a little bit more of a different look in terms of it'll actually look like a sawtooth or jagged, kind of the tooth of a saw, which is why, hence the name Sawtooth block. But in this case, I just made it scrappy and just didn't care about using a consistent background print. But if you want to do that, that's your option. Okay, yes, you can cut the dog ears off. Oh, I think she's answering someone's question there. And where did there we go. So, hello again. If getting one ruler purchase or if you're going to get one ruler, purchase the 6.5 so you can use it for assorted sizes. Is the 6.5 the largest size? And Trish Dort says, I don't like the block lock rulers. I use the clearly perfect slotted trimmer. You trim your HSTs before you press them. That's one thing that I do like about that particular ruler. It kind of matches my style of trimming up half square triangles. But again, it's one of those things where I don't know if making that purchase is going to add, if it's worth it for me to make that investment or not. But I guess I just have to give those rulers a try in order to know. Okay, so again, that's it for this block. It's something quick. It's something, I don't want to say easy, but it's something that, well, it's a good technique, or it's a good block to do if you are practicing your half square triangles, because you got to make a lot of them. You don't necessarily have to do the 2 at a time method. You could do whatever method you want to choose. If you know how to do the 8 at a time half square triangle method, you could do that. You could just sew 2 triangles together, or make squares and cut the triangles. Whatever half square triangle method that you want to practice or you know how to do, just use that. It's just a matter of sewing those half square triangles together and then making sure that their diagonal seam all goes in the same direction. And then again, in terms of fabric choices, it's whatever you want to make it. 1.5 inches, never too tiny. I'm not sure what the largest size is, but they are expensive. Yeah, any ruler, a lot of the rulers that I've purchased, they're usually, well, they are very pricey, I will say that. So anytime I'm purchasing a ruler, I always kind of consider, number one, what do they do? Number two, is it going to make it easier or faster? And then number three, is it going to, or are there other uses for it? So those are the 3 things that I always consider when purchasing a ruler. Hey Sheila, glad you could join me this evening, even though we're kind of wrapping up here. Hello John from Northern Texas. Glad you made it today. Okay. Let's see. Does anybody have any questions? I mean, this block is pretty straightforward. We'll see what I do with all these scraps, though. Yeah. Let's see. What's going on with me personally? When I started this series almost 1 year ago, I thought it was a daunting task. I mean, doing 1 video a week, give or take a couple of weeks that I actually missed doing a video. I was kind of thinking, can I actually do it? And here we are on block number 50, almost done with it. So I'm kind of glad that the series is kind of coming to an end, but at the same time, I'm also kind of sad because I don't know well, I do have a few ideas as to what I'm gonna be doing next. But yeah, it's been fun to do this series, to just come up with different blocks to do every week and not have to do a whole quilt out of it. But at the same time, it's very sad. So I'm not sure if I'm gonna do another 52 blocks. Maybe in the future, but not in the near future. Yeah, I'm kind of debating if I want to do this challenge again. One of the other thing, or something that I am looking forward to, is I am planning on doing a kind of Christmas themed block of the month type of I guess, series for the rest of 2022 or towards December of this year. I am working on that. And it's going to be a little bit different because you're only making 5 blocks, but you're going to make it multiple times. That may or may not be well, I definitely know it's not going to be a weekly video upload, but there's going to be multiple aspects of it, and I'll probably give you a preview of what the quilt top will look like because I am still working on it. I'll give you a preview of what it will look like. Then you can kind of decide whether or not you want to join along or sew along or not. So that's coming up. And there's going to be different options as to how you can do the layout of the quilt. So yeah, look forward to that in the next couple of weeks. My goal for that one is to start in August or late August sometime. So yeah, I gave myself a little deadline for that because I know I will procrastinate a lot. Then starting next year, this is not final, but we will do another sew along series where we're going to be using up a whole bunch of scraps. Now that one, I have no idea what the quilt will look like or how it's going to take shape or form, but yeah, I got a bunch of scraps that I need to use up, and I'm sure all of you out there have a bunch of scraps that you need to use up as well. So time to get those out and get those used up. So we're going to be doing some kind of scrappy quilts, maybe crumbs, maybe some blocks made out of strings. Who knows? I haven't planned it out yet, but that's something to look forward to. Let's see. So for those of you that didn't or that came in late, I did show this where this is next week's block. So you're getting a little bit of a sneak peek here. This will be block number 51. It is another filler block in which I'm still working on the video for that. And that'll go up hopefully by next Sunday. Hello, Delia. Thank you and Tiff for turning me on to Becca. You're so very welcome, John. Let's see. I just saw the... Hey, Heather. Glad you made it this morning or afternoon. Or what time is it? Oh, it's 11. Even though we're kind of wrapping up here. Eric, give yourself a big pat on the back. Good job. Okay. So, yeah, so this block is coming up next week. It's another filler block. It's not, I promise you, it's not difficult to do, even though it looks kind of complicating. I was actually rather intimidated by it, but once I started actually doing it, yeah, no problem. So hopefully it won't be a big issue for everyone else. And let's see what else is going on. I am working on hopefully I'll get the first video done soon, but I am kind of thinking about different video series in the future, so can't share too much about it yet because I don't have all the details worked out. But yeah, so even after we do our final block, there's other things kind of coming up, so stay tuned for that. That was basically the whole point. Hi, Patty. Thanks for joining, even though we're kind of wrapping up here. Tracy says, I like that block. I've used something like that to mix up a border. Yeah. Let me go back. So this block, you can use it as I'm used for purposes of my quilt top. I'm just using it as a filler, but it does work as a border or even a sashing if you want to do something a little more decorative in those areas of your quilt top. This is a perfect block to do something like that. So that is something that I will mention on the video. Thank you, Irish Sail Lady. So yeah, that's all I got for today. Thank you guys for joining me on this very unannounced live session. I'm trying to figure out trying to create like a weekly routine of when I can go live. And I was trying out various time slots, and some of them were announced, some of them were sorry. Some of them were announced, some of them were very spontaneous. And so today's one was kind of a spontaneous thing. I think I might just do a Thursday night, though, because that seems to be a convenient time for me personally, and a good time where nobody else that we know of is going on live. So, yeah. I think Thursday night is the time where I'm going to be doing some weekly live thing. Stay tuned. Starting this Thursday, I think. Yeah. So, but that's all I got for today. Thank you guys so much for joining me on this live session. Hope you guys have a great rest of your day and a great week ahead. Take care, and you know what I'm about to say. Go out and create something. Bye-bye.